Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And thank you again for tuning in live today. It is Monday, February 5th. It is 12 noon. My name is Jason Leeser, and I will be your host for today's Skill Building Monday Drawing Group. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different episodes going at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as well as all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just open up your web browser, whether it's on your phone or your computer or your tablet, and do a search for Reinventing the Tattoo, and you'll find it all, except for the book, which is still currently out of print. But no matter where you are watching live or on demand, you can always get the latest, most up to date information, all available at www.reinventingthetattoo.com. You can try it out for free. You do not have to subscribe right away. We have three different options for you to try it out. The first is a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon. The second option is some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals. And the third and final option is a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. Now, for fellow tattoo history nerds such as myself, I highly recommend the tattoo history course. It covers way more than you could ever imagine. Highly recommend that. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details, as well as access to our Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is a lot like our Roku channel. It's got 13 different channels, 13 different episodes playing at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As well, you can also find access to a whole host of professional development courses from over 20 world class tattoo artists. So, if you want to start doing lettering like Big Me's or BJ Betts, take a look. There's seminars in there for that. If you want to tattoo a skull like Bob Tyrell, take a look. Bob Tyrell's got a whole skull seminar in there that you can purchase. Or maybe you want to do half sleeves like Andre Malcolm. Andre Malcolm's got an entire koi fish half sleeve seminar you can purchase all straight through reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, if this is working for you, please let me know in the comments and in the chat, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. We have a number of weekly staple shows we always encourage people to tune into, starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we get to go through and discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies. Helps us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo industry. Following Drawing for Tattooers at 9 a.m. on Mondays, at 12 noon on Mondays, we have this show, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group, hosted by me, Jason Leeser, where we get to go through and work on some of our skills that maybe we need to revisit every now and then. I'm constantly going back through and revisiting some of the basics and some of my fundamentals and trying to stay on top of that. And what better place to do it? Following my show at noon on Mondays, at 9 p.m. on Mondays, we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. And that is only available for people that have a Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution or Reinventing the Tattoo Canon subscription. I can tell you from firsthand experience, looking at where I was a few years ago and looking at where I am now, those Monday evening drawing sessions alone are worth whatever price you pay. It's a great way to go through and focus on different elements of the Reinventing the Tattoo canon every week. At the end of every trimester, we actually have a final critique and a final assignment, final project. And it's really meant to help you go through and push yourself to become a better artist and to work on some of those elements that can really help you stand out. And once again, that's 9 p.m., a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sanding Mick Andrew on Mondays. Following that, on Tuesdays, we have the Tattoo Weekly Show with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Jake Meeks. And that is a great place to go to keep up to date with all of the new and current tattoo news going on. So if you're interested in what new laws or regulations are being passed, or new events, or new ways to do things, maybe it's new trends, anything dealing with the tattoo industry itself, take a look at the Tattoo Weekly, and that's 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. Following that, on Wednesdays at 12 noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to go through and do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing, whether it's work and travel visas, or marketing and promotional aspects. Maybe it's client management and workflow. All of that and more is discussed during the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, Wednesdays at noon. Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker, where we get to go through and discuss a whole host of different topics. People will chime in and share their stories about their tattoo collections and what they've been through, and, some of the fun anecdotes along the way. So tune in for that. That's Thursdays at 6 p.m. We do have a special event coming up, and that is Hell City, which is May 17th through 19th in Columbus, Ohio. Reinventing the Tattoo will be there, and we will be live during the Hell City Tattoo Convention in Columbus, Ohio. And I know that because I'm going to be there, and I'm going to go live at some point in time. So please keep that in mind, and please stay tuned for more information on that. Would like to go through and take a minute to thank some of our sponsors and some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They're constantly keeping everything up to date. As we know, living in this post pandemic era, every now and then we still get certain tattoo events and conventions that are getting rescheduled. So if you want the latest, most up to date information on tattoo events coming to a city or town near you, or maybe it's one you plan on traveling to visit. It's how I book most of my vacations. Take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Would also like to say a very big, nothing's working. Yay. Gotta love it when technology does things like this. Would also like to say a very big thank you to tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. If you are currently looking for a way to streamline your booking process, or to help you go through and get more people to come through the door at your studio that want to get the kind of tattoos that you want to do, take a look at tattoonow.com. They are a comprehensive resource to help you make that happen. Maybe it's a new website, maybe it's marketing strategies, maybe it's client retention. All of that and more can be discussed with the wonderful people over at tattoonow.com. Would also like to say a very big special thank you and shout out to the man, the myth, and the legend, Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com, where you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, some of his DVDs. I believe he still has a few custom coil machines for sale, as well as countless fine art prints and the occasional painting, all available at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to go through and say a very special thank you and shout out to one of our affiliates, Amy Nichols, over at the Apprenticeship Diaries. If you are looking for resources on what a tattoo apprenticeship is like, how to get one, what can be expected in one, etc., take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries. It is the number one resource for tattoo apprentices and apprentice hopefuls to help you get in the know about what you can expect during a tattoo apprenticeship, and what makes for a good one. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, we at wait, what? Um, Technology, man. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, eh. We ask that if you like today's show, please post a positive review on the channel. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom of the page so that you can follow all of our future broadcasts. Help us get the word out. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com. Oh boy. And that is a lot to say, and I do that all the time. And I am going to actually pause the video for just a second. Wonderful. Thank you. And we're just going to scoot this forward a little bit. I just noticed the background was off. Let's see. Better, much better. There we go. We could probably still, no, that's still in the way. There we go. Wonderful. Yay. Now I feel better. Cool. So we've got a lot to talk about today. For people that are watching, take a look at Hell City. The lineup this year is going to be absolutely insane. You definitely do not want to miss that convention. If you live anywhere near Columbus, Ohio, take a look, stop on by. It is going to be absolutely nuts this year. Paul Booth's going to be there, a whole bunch of other really incredible artists. I mean, it's just going to be amazing. Great for networking, great for artwork, great for collecting fine art and prints, great for getting tattooed. Come by and say hi. Um, yeah. So today on Skill Building Sunday, we are going to talk about simplification, simplifying. That is a condensing of all of these really, really technical, really detailed, and really advanced elements and getting back to simplifying everything. One of the best ways that we can do that is with our artwork and simplifying our drawings, simplifying our process, and getting back to those essentials. Simplification helps us move away from getting bogged down in detail. It helps us to focus on the elements that truly matter the most: shape, form, line, simplify, right? When we simplify things, we can really focus on quality. We can really focus on technique. We can really focus on doing those elements and creating those elements that are going to have the most impact on what it is we draw, paint, or tattoo. So I encourage everyone this week, simplify. Take a lot of those elaborate things that you constantly get hung up on. Maybe it's, putting all types of tiny, tight little details into one area. Simplify. You can always add detail later on. Go through, simplify things. Work on your simple shapes, your simple highlights, simple shadows, simple forms, simple shading and light source, simple perspective. Simplify things. And I think you would be surprised at how much more readily visible and how much easier it is to view what it is you're working on. Um, Something that I've talked about a couple weeks ago is to go through and challenge yourself and break down whatever it is that you really like to draw. Maybe it's rabbits or flowers or snakes or dragons or whatever. Take whatever it is you really, really, really like to draw and simplify it down to its most basic shapes, right? It's a lot harder to do than a lot of people think, right? Because say we're talking about a dragon head, right? I'm just using that as a term because I like drawing dragons. It's something I've become kind of obsessed with over the past like year or so. And it's in the Chinese zodiac, it is the year of the dragon. Yay. Hashtag year of dragon. Um, so I've been kind of obsessed with that for quite some time. And When you boil it down, dragon heads are actually very, very basic shapes, right? When you start to break things down into basic shapes and you start to examine them from the most basic shapes and elements possible, it doesn't matter what you draw. It doesn't matter if you want to draw a bear, a panther, a tiger. It doesn't matter if you want to draw a human being or a hand. Hands can be pretty tricky to draw. When you break them down into their very, very basic shapes, everything becomes a lot more easy to deal with and it becomes a lot more manageable. So I challenge everyone once again, simplify, break things down, simplify your shapes, simplify your forms. And I'm actually going to be doing a little bit of live drawing here in just a few minutes. Just working on simplifying shapes, simplifying forms, just breaking things down even further and seeing what I can build off of that so that it becomes a bit more legible. I always try to start off with simple forms and simple shapes, just because I find that from there, you can always build onto it. I call that compounding, right? You can compound shapes. You can do a rectangle underneath a circle and, give it a little bit of dimension. Next thing you know, you've got, say the top part of a dragon head, right? It's that easy. But it all comes from building off of simple shapes. Um, Utilizing perspective, simplified perspective. You don't need to get super, super crazy with certain things. But if you break everything down into basic shapes, things become a lot more manageable. They become a lot easier to build off of, and they become a lot less intimidating, right? When I first started drawing dragons, I was super intimidated, right? I was like, wow, I can't draw these complex things. This is crazy. There's so much going on here. Like you got, hairs everywhere and you got like beards and you got teeth and maybe there's a tongue if the mouth is open and then you got whiskers and well, what about the mustache hairs? It was intimidating. There was a lot going on. When you take a step back and you break things down, and when I did that, I started to realize, oh, this really isn't that difficult. Maybe you start out with an oval or a circle for the head, and then you add in, the upper jaw. Maybe you add in the lower jaw after that. But when you break each of those parts down, it's very, very easy. Same thing with drawing hands and claws, right? Hands can look kind of intimidating, right? Like perspectives and what's where and things getting obscured and like maybe you want to find like a really good like hand pose or reference or something like that, right? Well, it can get really tricky, especially if you're using foreshortening. But if you break everything down into its more basic elements, right? Start out with rectangles for each digit with a thin rectangle for the hand, right? Makes things very easy to manage from there. As long as you have your placement right with your knuckles, knowing and understanding how many segments there are in the fingers, right? Or in your thumb, because it's kind of, thumbs are weird. Because technically, this knuckle on a thumb, right, is back here, right? That's why I say they're weird. So they still have the same number of elements and the same number of bones, but because of the placement, you only see one little bend, right? So understanding the way that anatomy constructs things is also helpful, but basic shapes, right? Basic light source, right? Instead of getting super crazy with like, here's a bright underlight and then here's a light source coming from this way and then we've got another one coming down from this way. Simplify. One light source. Use a very basic, very easy light source. Maybe it's from the side, maybe it's from underneath, or maybe it's from the top. Focus on one light source, nail that, simplify it. I think you'll find that things become a lot easier to read and your mind can really pick things out a lot easier and things become a lot easier to mentally digest. So let's talk about simplification, right? And then I'll throw this on. Yay! Everything seems to be working okay right now, I think. Awesome. We've got the chats. We've got Atomics watching. What's up, man? Awaken Inc. How's it going? Yeah, I got about 10 people watching right now, a couple on Facebook. We've got a couple on the YouTube channel. What's going on, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well today. Happy to hear that. Happy to see that people are watching. Great. So let's get going. Let me pull this over a little bit more. Awesome. So I'm just going to start off with a couple of simple shapes. Not quite sure what I'm drawing yet today. I was working on dragon claws for quite a few hours last night. Just working on positions and perspective and all that stuff. That was just some warm ups I did earlier. But we're going to start off with, yeah, let's do some more dragon claws. So I know that I need to have one coming down, and I always start with like a wireframe just so I can get my angles and my perspective correct. Um, I know that for what I'm going to be creating, I know I want to use a little bit of perspective and a little bit of foreshortening. Um, but, I'm going to start out with, say this is like part of the lower arm. That's going to be receding into the background a little bit. And I want, let's go with this. We'll be heading backwards a little bit more. And I did draw the center line here because, once again, I'm trying to focus on simplifying shapes. Right, so I'm just going to draw this almost as like a weird rectangle to break this down. So this is going to be the forearm or the lower section of the arm. And now I want to start doing the hand. So right where this would intersect, I would have a little bit of a wrist bone. Now, dragon hands don't have quite as many digits as human hands, but it's still kind of similar. I always tend to give them the same kind of number of knuckles if I want them to be really, really, truly illustrated. I also like to draw a center line for my hand. Basic shapes, basic, right? So now this might not look like too much. In fact, I'll probably move these angles back a bit more, which means that that wouldn't be seen nearly as much. Just for today's illustration. So let's do, move that back, down, over. So this is going to be the top of the hand. Draw my knuckle circles. Right. And I know that if I want this to be a left hand, that this will be the thumb or the inside digit. And this would be the outside. Okay. Because I know that, and I know that the structure of the thumb is a little different, maybe I'll start this knuckle back here, and then I'll draw another one here, and then I'll draw another one here, right? So that'll give me here and here. Here's my wireframe. Now you don't have to draw your dragon claws like this. They can be a lot looser. They can be a lot, you know, more stylized if you choose to. In fact, let's create a more interesting composition here. Let's go back and then over. So for this one, maybe I'll keep it a bit more on the straight side. Boom, boom. Maybe it's coming forward a bit more, which means the first part of this finger is going to be a bit bigger because of our rules of foreshortening. This one, maybe we'll do 1 and then 2 and then 3. And at the end of these, I always like to do like a little fingernail. It's just basically a curved line. This one, let's go with something more forward. And then here, we'll just curve this one back in. And you can kind of already start to see the dragon claw taking shape, right? You know, we've got very definitive shapes for our fingernails. We've got a very easy to read flow for the digits of our hands. You know, you can really start to see it come together. Maybe it does take a little bit of imagination, but you know, it doesn't typically take too much. Now I'm just going to draw a couple of wrist bones, connect those with a line. So my dragon claw and dragon fingers are typically a different shape. I use almost like a trapezoidal kind of shape. Um, I don't know. It's not quite a rectangle. It's more like a funky pyramid shape. Um, just because I find that it allows me to go through and create a bit more of a kind of weird dynamic as far as the actual shape is concerned. You know, I always like to think the top ridge of a dragon's finger is going to be a lot thinner. The bottom ridge where the pads on the finger are, I typically imagine those to be a little bit thicker. So by doing it like this and creating this weird little trapezoidal shape, three-dimensional trapezoidal shape, it helps me keep that in mind and in perspective, because I do really want to capitalize on that. So I'm just going to start out by drawing, you know, this weird little trapezoidal shape at the tip right by where those fingernails are. And I will be honest with everyone, I'm not always the best person to discuss and talk about simplifying things because I have a very big tendency to overcomplicate just about everything. Um, it's something I've been working on and I'll get there eventually, but you know, it's been a struggle to try to simplify a lot of things. Because I'm always like, oh yeah, and we can do this and we can do that, and then maybe we'll put a whole bunch of scales in here, or give it some real cool gritty texture. And at the end of the day, none of that ends up panning out, usually because I overcomplicate everything. So once again, just drawing our little weird trapezoidal shape. This will come forward. Oh, drew that at the wrong angle from where I want this to be. So I want this to kind of move down a little bit. So that means this would be longer. right? Then we've got another little trapezoidal shape here. Cool. And then there. Then that would be obscured. So these are just very basic shapes, right? There's not a whole lot going on here. These are not super complex. These are not, super elaborate shapes or forms that I'm dealing with. These are all super, super basic shapes and forms. Now, what I would do is create a new little layer, maybe switch this to something a bit darker, maybe something a bit cooler. Yeah, dark teal is a good one. Switch this up into something a bit more opaque. That's not a sketching pencil. Let's see what we can come up with, right? So going through and refining, which is always the next step, trying to pick out and create, everything else. Once again, I'm keeping it kind of loose. I'm keeping it kind of simple. I'm not really focused on too much at this point in time. I'm just trying to get a more refined, basic version, maybe rounding some of this out a little bit. Just a more refined, basic version of these basic shapes. That's going to help me clarify things moving forward as I get into more and more detail. Hopefully you guys can still see this all right and it's coming through okay. Maybe I'll switch this up to something a little bit brighter. There we go. Is that going to be easier? We'll mute this a little bit. That should be a little bit easier to see. Cool. Okay, so I know I've got my knuckle here, here, and here. So let's go through. Not really worried about the intersecting knuckles or joints just yet on this middle claw. Just trying to round some stuff out and just see if it's going to give me the look that I want to go for. Maybe I'll add like a little knuckle here or something, little knuckle bridge. Just going through and just working on refining. Over here, let's do this. Since we know we've got this coming down, just trying to focus on the pattern of these basic shapes. And I'll show you why these are going to be essential elements when drawing this dragon claw in just a minute. Because by utilizing basic shapes at first, that already gives us an idea of if we were to draw, say a rectangle, right? And we were to shine a light on it, where would that light hit? So it already kind of helps us illustrate where the shadows and the highlights could fall. Obviously, depending on where your light source is going to kind of depend on, where your shadows go and where your shadows fall. But for the most part, it's pretty easy as long as you understand light source and light and directional light. Once again, just trying to refine these basic shapes just a bit more. just trying to smooth some things out. Maybe I will give this a little knuckle there, just as an indicator for where I want it to be. Since that's going to be tucked back. This perspective is probably a little off. I probably should have cut this here a bit more. That should be a little better. A little wrist bone there. This will be our wrist bone over here. And because we know that we're seeing more of the outer portion here, we know that that's going to help our perspective, because we know we're going to see a little bit more of like the palm over here. Draw the little knuckle ridge, Okay. Refining this even more, we're going to create another layer. Boom. Let's go with, and I did want to bring this up just a hair. Hopefully you guys can still see everything all right. Let's go with a purple. Yeah, that's a good one. So from here, just refining even more. This is where I'm going to start to add in some more detailed stuff and really focus on shapes, forms, and really kind of how I want things to move around. Right? I always like adding this little like notch here by the finger. Maybe we'll sweep that down. Good. Up here for this knuckle ridge, we'll give this a slight indent and round off the corners. Kind of makes it look like a knuckle a little bit more. We'll sweep this in. I'm not looking at any references. I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but I'm not looking at any other dragon claws or anything like that. I'm just trying to go through and, do my own thing with it first, all based off of basic shapes, which you can then go through and utilize to create a more intricate shape just by refining, just by going through and working off of your basics. And I'm going to show you why I drew those as a three-dimensional box in just a minute. I'm just trying to get this refined just a touch more. Don't know if you guys can hear her or not, but my cat is not happy today. Don't know why, but she has been very needy lately. Not that I don't love her, I just think she can get a little annoying sometimes. But she is very, very cute, and I do love her a lot. She does have moods that she gets in where she's super vocal. So if anyone can hear her, I do apologize. Okay, so say we're going to use this as our dragon claw. It's not the best one I've ever drawn, but that's okay. It's just for demonstration purposes today. So part of the reason why I still have my underlying layer there and how that can really be beneficial is because if I look at that and then I go through and I say, okay, now I want to put a light source on it, what areas are going to be hit with light the most? I know that the top ridge of this finger is going to be hit the most, but it is going to kind of roll off a little bit. Same thing here, right? Because I always like to have the top ridges be a little bit thinner than the bottom pads of the finger. I know that that's going to cast a slight shadow, right? Shadow over here because this part up at the top is going to be overlapping it a tiny bit. So I know I've got a light source coming from this direction. So this is going to get a little bit of shadow. This is going to get a little bit of shadow just coming out from there. This is going to get a lot of shadow. Light is going to be hitting this side of that top portion of the finger. And then a little bit underneath as well, coming out. So it already creates that like visual line that you need to determine where your shadows and where your highlights are. And it can really simplify the whole process down and just make things a lot easier to shade and get that kind of value that you're looking for. But this all started off with just very simple shapes, you know, couple of rectangles, couple of circles, couple of lines. Like I said, not the best one I've ever drawn, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be for these shows. If I really put some time into it, I'd probably draw about 9 different versions and go through and texture everything and add like tiny little scales, but that's all detail stuff that you do later. Right now, we just want to focus on basics. Throw a little bit of value there, a little bit of value here where the light would be hitting the top. So it can really help you go through and simplify everything. Give it a shot. The next time you're drawing something, doesn't matter if it's a dragon, a tiger, a panther, doesn't matter if it's a lion or an eagle, anything like that. Do yourself a favor and go through and simplify all of your basic shapes first. Try to map that out first, and then go through, build your detail on top of it, and just see what you can create based on basic shapes alone. because that is literally all I've been doing for the past few weeks. Simplify, 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 simplify. When you think it's simple enough, see if you can go another level. You never quite know. There you go. Just a quick little illustration of simplification and how simplifying things can really be beneficial. Cool. So I'm going to switch back over here. Today is going to be a bit of a shorter episode. I do have quite a few things I need to get done today. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you all very much for joining in today. Um, as always, if anyone ever has any questions, comments, or concerns, if anyone ever wants to get in contact with me directly, maybe about an idea for a show or an interview or anything like that, you can always send me a direct message right up here on Instagram at Philly Inc. You can also email me directly at jason@reinventingthetattoo.com, and I will be happy to get back to all of you as soon as I possibly can. Um, Wanted to say thanks very much, everyone, for tuning in today. And hope you guys keep your hands busy. Uh, Always like to say that. Keep things loose, keep things sketchy, and keep things simple. Remember, simplify. Hope you guys have a great week. I'll catch you again next Monday right here on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network at noon.